They have been running a test on you every time someone pushed, and every time you reacted, you handed them the answer they needed, not because they were confused about how to handle you, because the reaction is the only data they require to know exactly where to apply pressure next time. You have given that map away hundreds of times, in meetings, in arguments, in the moment your jaw tightened and someone across the table quietly logged it. You did not see it as a transaction because it felt like honesty, like being real, like having integrity, like refusing to be the kind of man who feels nothing. They did not see integrity. They saw inventory. What you called being authentic, they called being readable. And readable men are the easiest men in any room to control. These are the 4 levels that turn a readable man into someone they cannot reach. Level 1 is where most men live, the reactive mind. Everything lands, everything registers, everything produces a visible response. Because it feels honest, because it feels like engagement, because somewhere along the way he decided that showing the effect was the same thing as having integrity. It isn't. The reactive man believes his emotions are signals of depth. Machiavelli understood they were signals of exposure. Every flinch, every clipped response, every moment where his jaw tightened in a meeting or his voice went flat in a disagreement, someone in that room logged it, not to understand him, to use him. The reactive man is not difficult to manage because he wears every input on the outside. He tells you exactly which buttons exist. He tells you their precise location. He tests them for you by firing them himself before you even have to try. The man running the room doesn't react. He watches. Level 2 is where Stoic philosophy begins, the guarded mind. He has learned to absorb, to take the hit without letting it land visibly, to sit inside discomfort without needing to discharge it. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire reign governing this discipline. The gap between stimulus and response, the deliberate pause where a man chooses what to let through and what to let pass. This is not the same as suppression. The guarded man does not swallow his reaction and carry it quietly. He genuinely interrupts the reflex. He notices the pull and decides whether to follow it. This is the first real layer of power most men will ever reach, and most stop here, satisfied. The guarded man is harder to read than the reactive man, but he is still readable, because the guarded posture has its own signal, the jaw slightly set, the careful measured word, the stillness that is clearly costing him something. Stillness under pressure is better than reaction, but it is not yet invisible. Level 3 is where Machiavelli operates, the calculating mind. He does not merely guard against reaction. He uses its absence as a weapon. When they push him and get nothing, the silence is not neutral. It is information traveling in the opposite direction. They came fishing, they left with nothing, and in that exchange, they revealed themselves completely. The kind of push they chose, the timing, what they expected to land. He logged all of it. The calculating man's stillness is not endurance, it is extraction. He lets them complete the move. He watches what the move reveals about them. And then he decides on his own schedule, on his own terms, what, if anything, the situation requires from him. This is the level where most manipulation stops working permanently, not because he became immune to pressure, because he stopped being the one providing the reaction the pressure was designed to produce. Subscribe. Every episode goes one level deeper into what they don't want you to know. Don't miss what comes next. Level 4 is where the Stoic and the strategist converge. The unbreakable mind. He has moved past guarding and past calculating into something simpler and more complete. There is genuinely nothing for them to pull on, not because he has suppressed every reaction, but because the internal structure from which reactions come has been rebuilt around something they cannot reach. Epictetus said it plainly. Some things are in our power and some are not. The unbreakable man has made the full accounting of that distinction and built his entire internal life on the side of the ledger he controls. What they think of him, not his. How they respond to him, not his. Whether they respect him, not his. He holds none of those things. So when they come fishing, the line drops into nothing, not performance, not suppression. Empty water. And a man standing in it who has long since stopped noticing the hook. Here is what this looks like in practice. Someone at work takes a shot at him in a meeting, a reframing of his idea, a slight in front of people whose opinion he values. The reactive man fires back or visibly absorbs it. The guarded man holds it and carries it home. The calculating man logs it, says nothing, decides later. The unbreakable man experiences something different. He notices the move. He registers what it reveals about the person who made it. And then he returns to whatever he was doing, because the move didn't land anywhere that matters. Not because he decided it shouldn't, because there is no longer anywhere for it to go. Machiavelli's student does not win these exchanges by counter-striking. He wins them by remaining the only person in the room who is actually thinking, while everyone else is either watching for his reaction or waiting to see what he'll do. He does nothing. That is the move. This is not a natural state. It is built, deliberately, over time, through the same discipline that produces any other form of mastery: repetition, correction, refinement, and the willingness to lose short-term exchanges in service of long-term structure. The man who becomes unreadable does not arrive there by deciding to be calm. He arrives there by systematically identifying every emotional hook he carries and removing the ones that don't belong to him. The approval of men who were never going to give it. The fairness of systems that were never designed to be fair. The recognition of people who need him small to feel large themselves. Each one he releases is one less line in the water. Each one removed is one less way they can move him. This is what Machiavelli called the preparation that precedes the moment. You don't build stillness in the moment you need it. You build it long before they show up. You already know which reactions have been costing you because you can feel the after, the moment when the exchange is over and you are standing in the wreckage of something you handed them willingly, something they used because you made it available, something that would have had no power at all if you had simply let it pass without confirming it landed. And the thing is that you know this. You have always known this at some level, which is why the reaction never felt like a victory, even when it felt justified, because the part of you that knows the difference between honesty and exposure was keeping score the whole time. And it knows the difference between a man who responded because he had to, and a man who responded because they found the line and he couldn't help himself. And the distance between those two men is not talent, not intelligence, not even discipline in the way most men think of it. It is simply the decision to stop providing the data that makes you movable. They came for your reaction. You gave them nothing. That is the whole game. You already know what you are. Finally, ruthless.